It was a warm afternoon in June, the kind of day meant for celebration. Birds chirped in the trees, and the smell of fresh-cut flowers filled the air. The backyard of the Carter family home had been transformed into a wedding venue. White chairs were lined neatly on both sides of a red carpet, and rose petals were scattered everywhere. A string quartet played softly in the background as guests took their seats. Everyone was there for the wedding of Tyler Carter, a 26-year-old mechanic with a bright future, and his bride, Alana Price, a 23-year-old nursing student. Tyler had worked hard to build a life he could be proud of. After saving up for nearly 2 years, he finally had enough to give Alana the dream wedding she had always wanted. He loved her deeply, and he was proud to show her off to the world. Tyler's father, Douglas Carter, 48, was the kind of man people either admired or feared. A successful businessman with a bold personality, Douglas had always been the center of attention wherever he went. Tall, charming, and confident, he often acted like the wedding was his. Tyler never liked that, but he let it go. After all, Douglas had paid for part of the reception. Still, Tyler couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right between his father and his bride. Alana had seemed distracted lately. She stopped letting Tyler kiss her deeply and had become guarded with her phone. When he asked what was wrong, she would brush it off with a tired smile and say, "Just school stress." Tyler believed her. He had no reason not to. But as the ceremony began and Alana walked down the aisle in her lace dress, a strange look passed between her and Douglas. It was brief, but Tyler noticed it. A flash of something. Guilt? Panic? Lust? He couldn't be sure. He brushed the thought away, focusing on how beautiful she looked. They exchanged vows, and everything seemed fine. But at the reception, things began to feel off again. Tyler saw his father whisper something to Alana when she was alone at the bar. She laughed, too much, and touched Douglas's arm lightly. Tyler's heart sank. Something in that touch made him uncomfortable. He wanted to believe it meant nothing, but the doubt had already begun to grow like a weed. Later that evening, Tyler's best man, Jordan, pulled him aside. "Bro, I don't know how to say this," Jordan began, looking nervous. "But I think something's going on between Alana and your dad. I saw them last weekend, together, alone, at a hotel." Tyler stared at him in disbelief. "You're joking." Jordan shook his head. "I wish I was. I didn't want to ruin your big day, but I can't stand by and say nothing." Tyler's hands began to tremble. He felt like the ground beneath him was cracking open. He stormed out of the reception hall and drove straight home, without saying a word to anyone. At home, he searched through Alana's drawer and found her hidden phone. What he saw confirmed everything. Messages, photos, videos. His father, his bride, in ways he could never unsee. His hands clenched, his chest burned, his heart shattered. The man he had looked up to his whole life had stolen the one thing that meant the most to him. He loaded his father's old gun from the safe in the basement, something he had promised never to touch. But promises felt worthless now. Tyler sat in the dark, alone, waiting for the anger to settle. But it didn't. It only grew. The next time he saw his father, he wouldn't just ask questions. He would have 9 answers. Tyler didn't sleep that night. He sat in the living room with the gun resting on his lap, his face pale and his eyes hollow. The house was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and the ticking of the old clock on the wall. Each tick sounded like a countdown to something he couldn't stop anymore. He kept scrolling through the messages on Alana's hidden phone, every word stabbing him deeper. The way she called his father D. The way she begged him not to tell Tyler. And worst of all, the videos. They weren't just proof. They were betrayal, filmed and saved. Tyler's heart felt like it was being crushed in his chest. His thoughts spun like a storm. Questions echoed in his mind. How long had this been going on? Why would they do this to me? What kind of father does this to his son? By sunrise, Tyler was numb. Not sad, not even angry, just cold. He stood up, washed his face, and stared at himself in the mirror. He didn't look like himself anymore. Something had changed. At 9:15 a.m., Douglas called. Tyler let it go to voicemail. Then Alana called. He let that one ring too. He already knew what he needed to do. Douglas lived just 10 minutes away in a modern house on the edge of town. Tyler knew the security code to the gate. He knew the alarm passcode. He had spent so many weekends at that house growing up, playing in the yard, fixing things in the garage, even watching football with his dad on Sunday nights. The man had taught him how to tie his shoes, drive a car, and change oil. But none of that mattered anymore. That man had also taught him how to destroy trust. Tyler parked 2 houses down and walked the rest of the way. His hoodie was up, and he wore gloves even though it was summer. The gun was tucked in the waistband of his jeans. When he reached the front door, he didn't knock. He used the code and walked in like it was still his home. Douglas was in the kitchen in his robe, sipping coffee and reading something on his tablet. He looked up, surprised. "Ty, what are you doing here?" he asked, setting the mug down. "You look like hell." Tyler didn't answer. He took the phone from his pocket and tossed it onto the kitchen counter. Douglas's face changed the moment he saw it. "Where did you?" he began, but Tyler raised the gun. "Don't lie to me." Douglas held his hands up. "Look, son, it wasn't supposed to happen like that. We didn't mean for it to go this far. I swear. You didn't mean to sleep with my wife?" Tyler's voice cracked, his grip on the gun tightening. "You didn't mean to ruin my life?" Douglas stepped forward carefully. "It was a mistake. A terrible mistake. Let's talk about this. Please." Tyler's hands were shaking, but his aim didn't move. "You were supposed to protect me, not take what's mine. You were supposed to be my father." "I am your father," Douglas shouted. "No," Tyler whispered. "You're just a man who betrayed me." The first shot hit Douglas in the chest, the second in the shoulder. He screamed and fell backward, trying to crawl away. Tyler followed. He didn't stop until there were 9 shots, 9 for every message, every video, every lie. Then he stood there in silence, breathing hard, the smell of gunpowder in the air. Blood pooled around Douglas's motionless body. Tyler dropped the gun and sat on the floor, hands over his face. There was no going back now. He had destroyed what was left of his family, and he didn't feel better. The gun was still warm when Tyler dropped it to the floor. His ears rang from the loud cracks of each shot, but the silence afterward felt even louder. Blood was everywhere, on the walls, on the floor, on Tyler's hands. His father, Douglas Carter, lay lifeless in a pool of red, his robe soaked and eyes wide open in shock. Tyler didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just stood there for several minutes, staring at what he'd done. Then he walked to the sink and washed his hands. The red water spiraled down the drain like a slow-motion nightmare. Once clean, Tyler grabbed the hidden phone and left. He didn't run. He didn't even bother hiding. He walked down the street the same way he had come, straight to his car. As he drove away, he knew it was only a matter of time before someone discovered the body. But before the police came knocking, Tyler needed answers. He drove across town to the apartment he and Alana had planned to move into after the honeymoon. She was there, standing in the doorway, phone in hand, eyes wide when she saw him. Her makeup was smudged, and she was crying. "Tyler, where have you been?" "I've been calling all morning." She stopped when she saw the look in his eyes. He pushed past her without a word and walked into the living room. "Sit down." "Tyler, what's going on?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I said sit down." Alana sat slowly, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Her eyes kept flicking toward the door, then back to him. What's wrong?" "I know everything," Tyler said. He tossed the phone onto the coffee table. "The texts, the videos. You and my dad. How long has it been going on?" Alana stared at the phone like it was a weapon. Her lips quivered. I didn't mean for it to happen. I swear. It started a few months ago, before you proposed. He was charming. He said you weren't ready for marriage." "And you believed him?" Tyler asked, voice hollow. "I was confused. He offered to pay my tuition. He said it would be a secret, just for a while. But I loved you, Tyler. I still do." Tyler laughed bitterly. "You don't cheat on someone you love." "I was going to end it," she shouted, tears falling. "I tried, but he wouldn't let go. He said if I stopped, he'd tell you. He even threatened to cut off my school funding." "So you slept with my father? Because he blackmailed you?" Tyler asked, folding his arms. Alana nodded slowly, eyes red. "Yes. I was scared. And weak. I didn't know what to do." Tyler stared at her. "He's dead." Alana gasped. "What?" "I shot him," Tyler said quietly. 9 times. Alana's hands flew to her mouth as she dropped to her knees. "Oh my God. Tyler, no. No. I watched you two betray me over and over. I trusted you," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "Now I don't trust anything. Not even myself." She tried to reach for him, but he backed away. "Don't." The sound of sirens echoed in the distance, growing louder. Alana collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Tyler looked at the door, then back at her. Tell them the truth. Don't protect me. Then, calmly, he walked to the window and waited for the flashing lights to arrive. He had already lost everything. There was nothing more to hide. Red and blue lights flashed through the window, painting the walls of the apartment in harsh, blinking color. Tyler didn't flinch. He stood still, hands by his sides, as the police cruisers screeched to a stop in front of the building. Alana was on the floor, trembling, whispering, "Oh God," over and over. Her face was soaked with tears, and her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She stared at Tyler as if she was looking at a stranger. Moments later, there was a heavy knock on the door. "Police. Open up." Tyler didn't move. The knock came again, louder. "Open the door now." Alana stumbled to her feet and ran to open it. 3 officers stormed in with weapons drawn. "Hands up. Let me see your hands." Tyler raised his arms slowly. "I'm not resisting." One officer cuffed him while the others searched the apartment. Tyler didn't say a word as they read him his rights. "You have the right to remain silent." Alana stood frozen as they walked Tyler out the door. He didn't look back at her. She didn't try to stop them. Outside, neighbors gathered, some filming with their phones. The world moved quickly around Tyler, but inside, everything felt slow, like he was underwater. He was placed in the back of the police car. The door slammed shut. He looked down at his bloody shirt and hands. The reality was starting to settle in now. His father was dead. His bride was a liar. And he was going to prison. At the station, the detectives were waiting. A tall woman in a brown suit, Detective Karen Fields, took the lead. She walked into the interrogation room where Tyler sat handcuffed to the table. His eyes dull. "I'm going to ask you questions. You don't have to answer. But if you choose to, I need you to be honest." Tyler nodded slightly. "Did you kill your father, Douglas Carter?" she asked. "Yes," Tyler replied, without hesitation. "Why?" Tyler took a deep breath. "He slept with my wife. I found their messages, their videos. I confronted him, and I shot him. 9 times," she said. "That's not a crime of passion. That's rage." "I didn't plan it," Tyler said. "But I brought the gun with me. So maybe I did. I don't know anymore." Detective Fields stared at him. "You know this is murder. Premeditated." "I know," he whispered. "Was your wife involved?" Tyler hesitated. "No. She didn't know I was going to do it. She begged me to talk. But I didn't care anymore. I wasn't thinking straight." Detective Fields stood. "We'll confirm your story. But right now, you're being charged with first-degree murder." She walked out, leaving Tyler alone in the room. Back at the apartment, Alana sat in another room, giving her statement. Her voice was shaky, but she told the truth. She admitted the affair, the blackmail, the guilt. She broke down halfway through. "I didn't think Tyler would do something like this," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for any of this to happen. But it had happened. And no matter how many times she said she was sorry, it wouldn't bring Douglas back. The betrayal had already taken root. And now, 3 lives were broken beyond repair." Tyler Carter sat in a gray jumpsuit behind a thick glass wall, his wrists chained to his waist and his ankles bound. It had been 3 months since the murder. He had barely spoken to anyone, not his lawyer, not his mother, not even Alana. The media called it the father-bride scandal shooting. Newspapers splashed headlines like, "Groom kills father over," "Bride's secret affair," and 9 shots. 1 broken family. Everyone wanted to know the details. Everyone had an opinion. But only Tyler knew the depth of the betrayal he felt. His public defender, Mr. Lucas Brandt, was a serious, soft-spoken man in his 50s who had seen it all. He had tried to convince Tyler to plead not guilty by reason of temporary insanity. But Tyler refused. "I knew what I was doing," he said again and again. "I just didn't care anymore." Mr. Brandt sighed and adjusted his glasses. "We can't win a murder case on honesty. Tyler, the prosecution is going for the maximum penalty. You could face life in prison, without parole." Tyler just nodded. "That's fine." The courtroom was packed when the trial began. Reporters filled the back row. Tyler's mother, Evelyn Carter, sat silently with red eyes, unable to look at her son or speak a word. Alana wasn't in the courtroom that day. The prosecutor, ADA Michelle Harmon, was sharp and relentless. She painted Tyler as a cold, calculated killer who couldn't handle rejection. She showed pictures of Douglas Carter's body, listed each of the 9 bullet wounds, and called it an execution, not an act of passion. She turned to the jury. Mr. Carter didn't just want to stop his father. He wanted him to suffer. He wanted revenge. That is not justice. That is murder. Mr. Brandt, in his opening statement, didn't deny what happened. Instead, he asked the jury to consider why it happened. This case is not about proving whether or not Tyler pulled the trigger. Brandt said calmly. It's about what led him to that moment. A lifetime of trust destroyed by the two people he loved the most. One act of betrayal pushed him over the edge. On the third day of the trial, Alana took the stand. She looked pale and hollow, nothing like the glowing bride from months ago. She clutched a tissue in her hand as she sat down, her eyes finding Tyler's just once before turning away. Did you have an affair with the victim, Douglas Carter? Ada Harmon asked. Alana nodded. Yes. Were you forced into it? No, she said quietly. At first, it was flattering. He was powerful, and he made me feel important. But later, he used my secrets against me. He threatened to tell Tyler. I tried to end it, but he always pulled me back. Did you know Tyler had discovered the affair? No, not until that morning. Did you expect he would react violently? She shook her head. No, Tyler's never been violent. He loved his dad. I never thought he would actually. Her voice broke. Kill him. When it was Mr. Brandt's turn, he asked gently, do you believe your relationship with Douglas played a role in his death? Alana hesitated. Yes, I believe it was the reason. That answer hung heavy in the courtroom. Tyler looked down, unable to meet her eyes. By the end of the week, both sides had made their arguments. The jury was dismissed to deliberate. Everyone waited in silence. Tyler sat alone in his holding cell, staring at the wall. He had confessed. He had told the truth. Now his fate rested in the hands of 12 strangers. And all he could do was wait. The courtroom was packed tighter than ever. The tension could be felt in every corner, from the press bench in the back to the silent jury box up front. After 2 days of deliberation, the 12 jurors had reached a decision. Tyler Carter sat quietly beside his attorney, Mr. Brandt. His orange jumpsuit looked too big on him, and his face was pale from lack of sleep. His mother, Evelyn, was in the front row, clutching a cross between her fingers, her eyes fixed on the judge's bench. Alana wasn't present that day. After testifying, she had gone silent. No more statements. No more visits. Her name was still whispered in corners of the courtroom, but she was nowhere to be seen. Will the defendant please rise? The judge said firmly. Tyler stood. His hands trembled slightly as he faced the jury. The foreperson, an older man in a navy blue suit, cleared his throat and read. From the paper. In the matter of the state versus Tyler Carter, on the charge of first-degree murder, we find the defendant guilty. Gasps filled the room. Evelyn dropped her cross. Tyler didn't blink. He didn't move. The judge nodded solemnly. Thank you. Sentencing will be held 1 week from today. Court was adjourned, and the room erupted in hushed conversations and media chatter. Reporters rushed outside to report the news. Tyler Carter found guilty in the shooting death of his father. After Bride's affair revelation, as deputies came to handcuff Tyler and escort him out, his mother stepped forward. Tyler, she whispered. He turned to her slowly, eyes full of pain. I'm sorry, Mom. Tears rolled down Evelyn's cheeks. He was a terrible man, but I wish you hadn't done it. Tyler nodded. Me too. Back in the jail, Tyler was placed in a solitary cell while awaiting sentencing. Alone in the small concrete room, he finally let the weight of everything fall on him. He had killed his own father. His marriage was over before it began. He was going to spend the rest of his life behind bars. But worst of all, he didn't feel peace. He had thought revenge would make him feel better, stronger, in control, but all it had done was leave him empty. That night, he sat on his bunk and opened a letter that had arrived under his door. The handwriting was familiar. It was from Alana. Tyler, I don't expect you to forgive me. I won't try to explain or excuse what I did. You loved me, and I betrayed you. I will live with that shame forever. I watched your trial. I saw what this did to you. I'm sorry for what I cost you. I know you'll never want to hear from me again, but I needed you to know. I loved you. I was just too broken to love you the right way. He folded the letter carefully and placed it under his mattress. Outside the small cell window, the night was quiet. The world kept moving. But for Tyler Carter, everything had already stopped. 1 week later, Tyler Carter stood before the same judge who had presided over his trial. The courtroom was quieter this time. No cameras, no reporters. Just a few family members, a couple of legal clerks, and the sound of rustling papers. The sentencing was simple. There was no need for dramatic statements or outbursts. All rise, the bailiff said as the judge entered. Tyler stood, chained at the wrists and ankles, emotionless. The judge looked down at the paperwork before her and spoke calmly. Mr. Tyler Carter, after reviewing the facts, the testimony, and the jury's verdict, I hereby sentence you to life in prison for the murder of Douglas Carter. You will not be eligible for parole. There was a moment of silence. Tyler nodded once. He had expected this. As the guards moved to escort him away, the judge added, though your actions cannot be excused, this court recognizes the emotional trauma that led to them. But we are a nation of laws, and justice cannot be carried out by individuals. Tyler didn't argue. He didn't speak. He just walked. In prison, days blended into nights. Tyler was assigned to a medium security facility, not because he was considered harmless, but because he had shown no signs of violence toward anyone else. He kept to himself, didn't join any groups, didn't talk unless spoken to. Inmates whispered about him at first. That's the guy who shot his own dad 9 times. But soon, he became just another face in the yard. He spent his days working in the prison library, quietly sorting books and writing in a notebook he kept hidden under his pillow. Sometimes he wrote letters he never sent, mostly to Alana, sometimes to his younger self. One day, an envelope arrived in the mailroom. No name, no return address, just his prisoner number. Inside was a photo. It was a picture of him and Alana at their engagement party, before the lies, before the affair, before the murder. In the photo, he was smiling. She was laughing. Their hands were intertwined, faces full of love and promise. On the back of the photo, in small handwriting, were just 3 words. We were happy. Tyler stared at it for a long time. He didn't cry. He just placed the photo inside the notebook. That night, under the cold, flickering lights of his cell, he wrote one last letter. To whoever finds this one day, I was a man who had everything, and I lost it in one moment of rage. I let my pain turn into punishment for everyone. If you're reading this, let my story be a warning. Some betrayals cut deeper than a knife, but some wounds don't need bullets. Walk away before you destroy what little you have left. Years passed. Tyler's name faded from headlines. Alana moved away, changed her name, and eventually remarried. Evelyn visited less often until one day, she stopped coming entirely. But Tyler remained. Not the man who killed, not the groom who was betrayed. Just a man alone with his thoughts, living with the truth, and the sound of 9 shots that would never stop echoing in his mind.